In case there are any conspiracy theorists out there, how would you prove to us that you're in zero gravity?
We don't have time for a meeting of the Flat Earth Society.
Mind control to Major Tom. Mind control to Major Tom. Hang the green screen up and put your wires on. Mind control to Major Tom. Mind control to Major Tom. Earth is flat and there's a dome above us all. This is mind control to Major Tom. We've fooled the human race. Now the existence of God is so far away. Mind control to Major Tom. Mind control to Major Tom. Earth is flat and there's a dome above us all.
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings.
If you were to go to NASA and download one of their photos of the Earth in the moon's sky and put it in Photoshop, okay, drop the saturation and the levels down, you'll see that the Earth has been pasted in, because you'll see a rectangular box around the Earth. It's all fraud, it's all fake. Pretty much everything NASA puts out is fraudulent.
We, the legislature, recognize that there is a debate about whether the Earth is round or flat.
No.
And let's encourage critical thinking by saying there should be a legitimate debate between whether the Earth is round or flat. Because after all, any idiot can walk outside and look and see that it's flat.
This? All day long, beating you over the head in their media, telling you what to believe, what to think, and what to buy. The table is tilted, folks. The game is rigged, and nobody seems to notice. Nobody seems to care.
carpenters, the very minds of the people we are trying to save. But until we do, these people are still a part of that system, and that makes them our enemy. You have to understand, most of these people are not ready to be unplugged. And many of them are so inert, so hopelessly dependent on the system, that they will fight to protect it.
And you know something? They'll get it. They'll get it all from you sooner or later, because they own this fucking place. It's a big club, and you ain't in it. You and I are not in the big club.
You're saying our government plans to commit a terrorist act against a domestic airline?
There you go. Indicting the entire government as usual. It's a faction. A small faction.
For what possible gain?
The corner of Liberty and Washington. Lower Manhattan.
World Trade Center. I'm going to crash the plane into the World Trade Center.
When? Skylar, I was medicated. I mean, I could have said the world was flat.
You know what I think? I think you accidentally told the truth.
This is the reunion island from the Isle of Mauritius. It's 149 miles away. It's a long, long, long way away. And once again, we can see the peak, but we can also see most of the rest down. This is quite clearly a very, very good observational day. Very clear, very calm. The highest peak on Reunion Island is 3,072 meters tall. It's just under 2 miles. 149 miles away, everything should be behind 2.8 miles of curvature. Should have curved way, way away. And again, it's not just the tops we can see much more. We can see a lot more, 2,000 feet or so of that.
One sort of other proof is there's a place in Bolivia called Salar de Uyuni, which is a salt flat. It's literally 100 miles wide one way and 80 miles across. And it's perfectly flat. When it rains, literally you get an inch of water and it looks like a perfect mirror. Now, how does that happen on a sphere? Yeah, it shows you that, you know, if you're one end of this salt flat, you can see perfectly clearly the other end 100 miles away. So it's just showing you that you know, the Earth is flat, and without the effect of the waves in the sea, you'll be able to see a whole lot further. Just recently, there was a case of a woman who was pregnant on a flight, and she was about, her waters broke on the flight, and I think it was from the Philippines to Los Angeles. They were flying across, and literally her waters broke, and they had to divert, they had to land. So instead of either going back to the Philippines or going on to Los Angeles, they landed in Alaska, which again, if you look on the flat map, it's again a straight path.
Number 10. All the other planets and stars we've ever seen are round, and there's no reason to indicate that the Earth should be any different. Number 9. Time zones. Day and night happen at different times at different places on Earth. In fact, it's always day somewhere and night somewhere else.
Now, most people say, well, I see the sun rise and set. How can that be if it's just going round in a circle? Well, that's perspective again. If you actually see video of the sun coming up and going down, many times you'll see that the sun starts off as it's coming up very, very tiny, and it gets bigger as it gets closer to midday and then gets smaller again. It's literally that effect of perspective. You know, with some things above you, like the ceiling in a hallway, yeah, as it goes further away, it will seem to sink down towards the horizon until it disappears beyond the limit of your sight. And that's all you're seeing. You're seeing literally the sun circling overhead, but seeming to set.
Number 8. The Coriolis effect means freely moving things like cannonballs or hurricane winds are deflected to the right, but only if you're north of the equator. If you're south of the equator, they're deflected left. Number 7. Triangles. If you walk 10,000 kilometers straight along the Earth's surface, turn 90 degrees to your right, walk 10,000 kilometers more, turn right again and walk another 10,000 kilometers, you'll be back to where you started, having successfully made a triangle with 3 90-degree angles. Number 6. The sun, in general, gets lower and lower in the sky as you travel away from the equator, and you can use this to directly measure the Earth's curvature. Pick 2 places a few hundred miles directly north and south of each other, and at noon measure the shadows cast by a vertical meter stick at each location. You can use the shadow lengths to figure out the angle between the sticks, and once you add in how far apart they are, you can calculate the Earth's curvature.
The same phenomenon Eratosthenes measured could be explained by a flat Earth if the sun were only a few thousand miles away and 32 miles across. The math would work out the same.
Number 5. The stars at night change as you go north or south. For example, Orion is upside down if you're in Australia. Number 4. Ferdinand Magellan, and many people afterwards, circumnavigated the Earth. That means he left headed west, continued going west, and came back to where he started, still going west. Actually, Magellan was dead, but one of his ships, led by Juan Sebastian Elcano, finished the journey. If you head west and circumnavigate the Earth yourself, you'll be able to tell because you'll observe one fewer sunrise than everyone who stays at home. Number 3. The horizon. Ships on the ocean or tall Chicago buildings viewed over Lake Michigan disappear bottom first. The simple fact is, if the Earth were flat, there wouldn't be a horizon beyond which things could disappear, so from across Lake Michigan you'd be able to see all of Chicago, as well as the Rocky Mountains.
And what you're seeing here is a mirage. You typically would not be able to see this from the Lake Michigan shore. We talked about this last night. Conditions are right on the lake that we're actually seeing a mirage of the Chicago skyline.
That we're actually seeing a mirage of the Chicago skyline.
It was on CNN, it's true. I seen it on Fox. It's real. It's bullshit!
Number 2. During a lunar eclipse, the shadow of the Earth on the moon is curved.
If I have told you earthly things, and you believe not, how shall you believe if I tell you of heavenly things?
And number 1. We know the Earth is round because we have photographic evidence. We know the Earth is round because we have photographic evidence.
Now, I know a lot of people like to say, well, gravity keeps the water stuck to the ball. And okay, let's talk about gravity. Gravity is the invisible force that keeps everything stuck to our spinning ball. Now, according to Newton, every force should have an equal and opposite force, but what is the opposite force of gravity? Well, they tell you that the opposite force to gravity is the centrifugal force of the spinning ball. Our Earth is spinning on an axis, and just by the very nature of the shape of a ball that is spinning on its axis, the centrifugal force differs at each point on the ball, being greatest at the equator, 1,650 kilometers an hour, or 1,040 miles per hour, faster than the speed of sound. Then, as you move up or down in the latitudes on the ball, it gets slower and slower. Thus, the centrifugal force is weaker as you get towards the poles. Therefore, it is counteracting gravity less and less as you get towards the top or towards the bottom of the ball. So, why aren't the people at the North Pole being squashed like bugs? How are they even able to walk if this force of gravity is pulling them towards the Earth and there is no longer a centrifugal force counteracting gravity? How can they even pick themselves up off the ground?
You start here, and you go around long enough in the same direction, you wind up in the place you started from. Yes, Thomas?
Why don't we fall off when we walk underneath, Miss Sarah?
Because of a force called gravity.
What does gravity look like?
Is gravity.
You have no idea. Okay, next question.
Wow.
No, here's the difference. We can describe gravity. We can say what it does to other things. We can measure it, predict with it. But when you start asking, like, what it is, I don't know. Einstein, in an Einsteinian answer, we would say gravity is the curvature of space and time. And objects will follow the curvature of space-time, and we interpret that as a force of gravity. That's probably the best answer I can give to a what is gravity question, or why is there gravity. That's the best I can do there. I think that's a good start.
Galileo is probably rolling in his grave. A Saudi cleric said our planet doesn't revolve around the sun.
Let's say we go to Sharjah Airport to travel to China by plane. Understand?
Now focus. This is the Earth. Say it rotates and we leave the airport. The Earth is rotating, right? So if you say the plane stops still in the air, wouldn't China be coming towards it? Yes or no? If the Earth rotates in the other direction, the plane will not be able to reach China because China is also rotating as the plane rotates.
Get it? The Earth doesn't revolve around the sun, or planes would never get to their destinations. Some Saudi cup of water physics. Well, the man's theory is quite popular, at least online. It's an instant viral tweet subject trend on Twitter. Some say the Saudis finally got it right after all the years of what we learned in school. This user looking forward to the cleric's next discovery.
In 1970, Freemason and philosophy professor at St. Thomas's University, Leo Ferrari, created the Flat Earth Society of Canada, which he soon shortened to simply the Flat Earth Society. Unlike Samuel Shenton's International Flat Earth Research Society in every way, Leo Ferrari's Flat Earth Society treated the entire subject as a deadpan joke, making a mockery of it, and even creating several intentionally false flat Earth arguments. For example, Leo Ferrari would always bring a pumpkin-sized rock with him during interviews and lectures, claiming he brought the stone back from the edge of our flat Earth. He would say, with a huge smirk on his face, how his boat had fallen over the edge, but he was luckily saved by hanging onto this rock. Clearly, treating our flat Earth in this tongue-in-cheek way discouraged people from taking the matter seriously, and creating this fake Flat Earth Society was the Freemasons' way of mitigating Shenton's Eifer's genuine threat to their global deception. Johnson investigated Ferrari's organization further and found that he was using, quote, the Flat Earth idea as a gimmick to entertain and promote the atheistic society. From then on, Johnson worked hard to expand his Eifers and constantly for the rest of his life exposed Ferrari's FES, calling him a false prophet, guilty of muddying the waters of truth. Near the end of his life, tragically, Johnson's house burned down, along with all the flat Earth materials he and Shenton had collected over their lifetimes. Until his dying day, Johnson claimed the fire to be the result of arson by a NASA agent he had seen snooping around.
So you may or may not have heard the term cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance is when new information challenges your beliefs and you just can't let go. It's just like that scene in The Matrix.
No. I don't believe it. It's not possible. Stop. Let me out! Let me out! I want out!
We have a rule. We never free a mind once it's reached a certain age.
It's not easy going through this kind of deception and then realizing that your whole life was spent thinking and believing one thing when it's the opposite. Nobody wants to feel like they've been fooled, like they've been had. I'm a human just like you, and I never would have thought in my wildest dreams that I'd be on this kind of journey. This journey of realization and reckoning. This journey of putting everything I know to the side so I can absorb information that seems ridiculous, yet so sensible. It's time to say fuck it. It's not your fault that you were wrong. It's not your fault that you fell for a trick that the whole world also fell for. I'm right here with you. It's time to take down your mental barrier and recognize that we have a lot of work to do in order to find out what this place really is and why we're here. It's not to be slaves of the dollar. It's not to be slaves of the clock. Our reality is being manipulated and hidden from us.
Prenons cette ballerine qui tourne, par exemple. Si je vous dis qu'elle tourne sur son pied gauche, avant que vous ne le regardiez, bien, il se pourrait qu'elle tourne sur son pied gauche. Si vous détournez le regard, et que maintenant je vous dis qu'elle tourne sur sa droite, eh bien, quand vous regardez à nouveau, il se pourrait aussi qu'elle tourne sur sa droite. Mais essayez de changer sa direction en même temps que vous la fixez du regard, et ça devient beaucoup plus difficile. Ai-je changé son image ? Est-ce de la magie ou de la sorcellerie? Pas du tout. La façon dont elle est animée donne à votre esprit le choix du comment elle tourne. Il vous faut juste un point de départ. Alors vous dites, bien, c'est de l'animation, juste une ruse. Puis-je vous montrer cette image fixe d'une allumette et de son ombre sur le mur? Remarquez-vous qu'il manque quelque chose? comme l'ombre de la flamme elle-même, votre esprit la voudrait là, mais elle ne l'est pas. Toute chose projette une ombre, d'accord? Vos yeux veulent voir l'image de la flamme avec son ombre, bien que la logique nous dise qu'une source de lumière pure ne peut pas en avoir une. Et puis il y a cette fameuse robe, qui en réalité est bleue et noire. Mais la photo est faite de telle manière qu'elle donne à l'esprit humain l'option de la voir en blanc et or. Vous savez les couleurs parce que vous pouvez les voir. Mais si quelqu'un d'autre voit des couleurs complètement différentes, alors qui a raison? Si tout le monde dans la salle voit du noir et vous de l'or, avez-vous tort parce que vous êtes en minorité? Et qu'est-ce que cela peut nous dire sur les possibles illusions créées sur mesure pour un petit groupe de personnes, ou vous-même? Les yeux de l'homme sont faciles à manipuler. Prenez cet exemple classique. Si vous mettez la vidéo en pause et fixez les 4 points au centre de l'image pendant 30 secondes, et ensuite détournez le regard pour regarder du blanc, alors vous verrez l'image résiduelle d'un homme avec une barbe. Mais ce n'est pas la ruse. La ruse, c'est que l'image résiduelle est en couleur, bien que vous regardiez du noir et du blanc, ce qui montre que vos yeux peuvent être conditionnés en peu de temps. Et en parlant de noir et blanc, voyons si vous pouvez éviter une simple distraction. Focalisez sur les blancs et essayez de compter les passes faites par l'équipe de cette couleur. Pouvez-vous faire abstraction du reste et compter le nombre de passes faites par les blancs? Vous êtes certain que le chiffre est 13. Bravo, c'est correct. Mais ce n'est pas tant pour le nombre de passes, mais plus par rapport à cette abstraction totale. En suivant l'équipe blanche, vous avez ignoré l'équipe noire et tout ce qui s'y rattache. Donc, vous n'avez pas vu l'ours noir dansant juste devant vos yeux. Ne vous inquiétez pas, je ne l'ai pas vu moi-même la première fois. Et maintenant que vous connaissez la ruse, on ne peut plus vous tromper, n'est-ce pas? Retournez en arrière et réessayez, en focalisant toujours sur le nombre de passes, et voyez si vous détectez l'ours. C'est plus difficile que vous ne le croyez. Beaucoup de gens verront ce dragon, et penseront qu'il s'agit d'effets spéciaux. C'est en fait très réel, mais l'illusion ne fonctionne que selon un certain angle d'approche. Si vous allez trop loin d'un côté ou de l'autre, vous verrez l'envers de l'illusion. Si vous ne voyez pas l'envers du décor, alors vous ne pouvez pas briser l'illusion, peu importe l'énergie que vous y mettrez. Et ceci nous renvoie à quelque chose qui ne devrait pas être une manipulation et qui pourtant l'est. C'est la carte Mercator. Et là vous dites, ce n'est pas une tromperie, c'est une vraie carte. Et vous le savez bien, parce que c'était la carte affichée dans votre classe. Tous les géographes du monde savent que cette carte est terriblement fausse. La perspective correcte est celle-ci, la Goldspiter. Elle montre des proportions plus réelles des pays entre eux. C'est la carte qui devrait être dans les écoles. Mais les autorités pensent que vous serez plus à l'aise avec une vieille carte. Vous pensez qu'il n'y a pas trop de différence, qu'au moins les emplacements sont corrects, n'est-ce pas? Regardez la taille de l'Europe et où se trouve l'Allemagne. Ce qui nous est représenté est la vérité car nous voulons que ce le soit. Et je dis ça littéralement. Les humains en tant qu'espèce sont conçus pour croire à ce qu'ils voient. Cela s'appelle la suppression du doute. Vous pensez être immunisé contre ce processus de doute? Pourquoi devenez-vous émotif devant un film? Vous savez que c'est un film. Vous savez que vous regardez une image en 2 dimensions sur un écran. Vous avez déjà vu les acteurs plusieurs fois, ainsi que d'autres films. Et vous savez que le processus de réalisation implique des centaines de personnes et des millions de dollars. Mais l'histoire est suffisamment convaincante. Et cela vous permet d'oublier tout ça, au moins pour un moment, et d'être complètement pris dans l'instant. Mais assez avec les ruses. Et la vie réelle alors? Sans toutes ces distractions et tours de passe-passe, vous devriez pouvoir déterminer les choses telles qu'elles sont, non? N'en soyez pas si sûr. N'avez-vous jamais conduit une voiture, coincé dans un trafic en accordéon, rêvassant un peu, puis ayant cette désagréable impression de ne pouvoir dire si c'est vous qui bougez ou la voiture d'à côté? Ceci arrive à tout le monde. Des études universitaires sur la perception du mouvement ont depuis longtemps été menées, et il a été déterminé que si les mouvements étaient suffisamment faibles, l'humain ne pouvait plus faire la différence entre son propre mouvement et celui d'autres objets. Cela s'applique aux voitures, aux trains, à tout véhicule dans lequel vous pouvez vous trouver, et peut-être même à quelque chose d'aussi grand que le monde lui-même. Pour être clair, vous ne pouvez pas vraiment déterminer si votre voiture ou votre train bouge, personne ne le peut. Ce n'est qu'une supposition. Maintenant, dites-moi que vous pouvez sentir le monde tourner sur lui-même à 1600 km/h, tout en orbitant autour du Soleil 60 fois plus vite. Notre monde n'est pas une toupie et n'avance pas. Seul le ciel tourne.
World is round.
What?
You know how everybody believes the world is flat, like a pancake? Well, they're all wrong. The world is actually round, like an orange.
The world is an orange. And?
And? Well, that's it. It's a great idea. It's one of my best ones.
Yeah, but what kind of orange? Is it a navel or a juicer? What?
Look, just sleep on it. In the morning, the idea will come to you again, and you won't even remember where you got it. Get it?
Got it.
Good. I must say, I really thought you'd catch on to this a little quicker, Copernicus.
What? My name's not Copernicus. I'm Charlene Sinclair.
You're not Copernicus? This isn't 16th century Poland? Oh boy, I screwed up.
How do you brainwash? You repeat the same thing over and over again. You know, if somebody's resisting the concept, if you keep fucking repeating it, they'll incorporate it in their brain. Since you were a kid, you've seen this, but you've never seen it from that point of view. But your brain has three-dimensionalized. Oh yeah, that's the Earth. How? Through repetition.
Let's just all get on our hands and knees and wait for a scientist or an astronaut to come along, or Neil deGrasse Tyson to come along and bestow upon us their knowledge.
Now, as you can see, this is the evolution meter, and I've put God, the creator of everything, on the right side, and evolution on the left. I won't change my mind, because I don't have to, because I'm an American. I'm dug in, and I'll never change.
Mac, look, you're wasting our time. You're not going to get us to not believe in evolution.
And why is that?
Because the smartest scientists in the entire world all agree that it's real.
I'm glad you brought that up. Mr. Reynolds, these were all the smartest scientists. Only problem is, they kept being wrong!
This is insane, you fool!
I'm a fool because I have more faith in the saints that wrote the Bible?
Yeah, because you just read the words of a bunch of guys that you never met, and you just take it on faith that everything they wrote was true.
And what makes you think what your scientists are writing is any more truer than my saints?
Because there are volumes of proven data, numbers, figures.
Have you poured through the data yourself? The numbers, the figures?
Well, no. No.
Oh, interesting. So let me get this straight, Mr. Reynolds. You get your information from a book written by men you've never met, and you take their words as truth based on a willingness to believe, a desire to accept, a leap of, dare I say it, faith?
Come on. Look, I mean, I don't even know how I'm supposed to respond to that. Like, come on.
I rest my case.
As these two favourite psychology experiments show, we can all rate ourselves as being as culpable as seen in these 5-minute videos, where normal folks star, making an interesting comment on human nature.
But an experiment is not a public opinion poll. It examines behavior under the pressure of social forces, as the experiment of Solomon Asch reveals.
The experiment you'll be taking part in today involves the perception of lengths of lines. As you can see here, I have a number of cards, and on each card there are several lines. Your task is a very simple one. You're to look at the line on the left and determine which of the 3 lines on the right is equal to it in length. All right, we'll proceed in this order. You'll give your answer.
Only one of the people in the group is a real subject, the 5th person with the white t-shirt. The others are confederates of the experimenter and have been told to give wrong answers on some of the trials. The experiment begins uneventfully as subjects give their judgments.
2, 2, 2, 2,
2, 3,
3, 3, 3.
But on the 3rd trial, something happens.
2, 2, 2, 2, 2.
The subject denies the evidence of his own eyes and yields to group influence. Ash found subjects went along with the group on 37% of the critical trials. But he found through interviews that they went along with the group for different reasons.
1.
1. They must be right. There are 4 of them and 1 of me.
1.
This subject's yielding is based on a distortion of his judgment. He genuinely believes that the group is correct.
1. 1. 1. 2. 1. 2. 2. 2.
I know they're wrong, but why should I make waves?
2.
In this case, the subject knows he is right, but goes along to avoid the discomfort of disagreeing with the group. Here, the distortion is at the level of his response.
2. 2. 2. 2.
In the previous experiment, the naive subject stood alone against the group. In this variation, Ash gave the naive subject a partner, here seated in the 3rd position, who also gives the correct response.
1. 1. 2. 1. 2.
With a partner, yielding drops to only 5% of the critical trials compared to 37% without a partner. Although subjects report warmth and good feeling toward the partner, they typically deny that he played a role in their own independence. The partnership variation shows that much of the power of the group came not merely from its numbers, but from the unanimity of its opposition. When that unanimity is punctured, the group's power is greatly reduced. Sometimes we go along with the group because what they say convinces us they are right. This is called informational conformity. But sometimes we conform because we are apprehensive that the group will disapprove if we are deviant. This is called normative conformity. The strength of the normative factor is shown in another variation carried out by Ash. In this variation, the subject is told that because he had arrived late, he would have to write his answers. Subjects in this private response experiment are exposed to the same amount of misleading information as other subjects, but they are immune from any possible criticism by the group.
1. 1. 1.
And this enormously reduces the pressure to conform. Conformity drops by 2/3. Ash's experiment is a classic. It reveals how people will deny what they see and submit to group pressure. It allows us not only to observe conformity, but to study the conditions that increase or reduce its occurrence.
It isn't just consumers who rate as targets for marketing. The people's very comment and perception is also artfully crafted by government.
The author of The Big Bang Theory was none other than the Jesuit-trained priest Georges Lemaitre. On October 28, 2014, Sarah Kerr reported,
Speaking to members of the Pontifical Academy of Science, the Pope said it is possible to believe in both, insisting God was responsible for the Big Bang from which all life evolved.
L'inizio del mondo non è opera del caos che deve a un altro la sua origine, ma deriva direttamente da un principio supremo che crea per amore. Il Big Bang, che oggi si pone all'origine del mondo, non contraddice l'intervento creatore divino, ma lo esige. L'evoluzione nella natura non contrasta con la nozione di creazione, perché l'evoluzione presuppone la creazione degli esseri che si evolvono.
2016, Hillary Clinton talks about aliens on Jimmy Kimmel.
When we had your husband, President Clinton, on this show, he said, I asked him about UFOs in Area 51, and if he looked in, because if I was president, that's the first thing I do. I go right into those files and see what was going on.
Right.
And he said that he did do that.
Yes.
And that he didn't find anything.
Well, I'm gonna do it again.
Yeah, why not?
Right? And you know, there's a new name. It's unexplained aerial phenomenon.
Unexplained aerial phenomenon, really?
Yep, UAP. That's the latest nomenclature.
I like the old one. I like UFO. I don't know why.
Well, I think we can use them interchangeably, but I would like us to go into those files and hopefully make as much of that public as possible. If there's nothing there, let's tell people there's nothing there.
What if there is something there?
Well, if there is something there, unless it's a threat to national security, I think we ought to share it with the public.
Well, what if everybody's all hopped up on medical marijuana and everybody gets paranoid? I would love it.
That's why I want more research.
If you share it with me, I'll decide what is the best course of action. I really have my ear to the ground.
Well, I'm more than happy to do that.
In my line of work, you got to keep repeating things over and over and over again for the truth to sink in, to kind of catapult the propaganda.
So you see, what used to pass for a tinfoil hat theory is now being pushed by the mainstream and accepted on a wide scale. In fact, the popular theoretical physicist Michio Kaku seems to be a pawn for programming the masses with the belief in aliens.
A crisis of leadership. We've been talking about this all week. But what if there was some sort of outer space crisis? An alien invasion sounds crazy, perhaps, but then who thought we'd ever see the stock market swing 5% a day all week long? So maybe it's not as far-fetched as it sounds. If aliens invaded, who would step up to lead us in that fight, and could we even win? That's just one of the questions the Discovery Channel's new series, Curiosity, looks at. Joining me now is physics professor Michio Kaku, who is a consultant for the series. Professor, welcome. The biggest question before we get any invasion is, do aliens even exist, and how would we know?
Well, the Kepler satellite currently orbiting in outer space has identified about 50 planets that seem very much Earth-like. In fact, every week we discover another Jupiter-sized planet in outer space. Now, to be sure, most of them probably have no more than microbial life, just germs. But a few of them may have intelligent life, perhaps even more advanced than what we have on Earth.
Now, so how does this actually work? When Discovery decided they were going to do a show on alien invasions, your phone rings because you're on the sort of speed dial for theoretical physicists who can help them do the war game for how this might play out?
Well, believe it or not, we physicists have actually studied the question of what happens if we do encounter a hostile advanced civilization in space.
Open your mind to the possibility that one day we will make contact with an intelligent civilization in outer space that could be thousands, millions of years ahead of us in technology.
The Kepler satellite has identified 2,000 planets orbiting other star systems. So tonight, when you look at the night sky, realize that somebody could be looking back at you. Now, if there is a life form out there, they could be literally millions of years ahead of us. The universe is 13.7 billion years old, so a million years is nothing compared to the age of the universe.
I mean, we have nothing to offer them.
Are we going to get answers in our lifetime about this?
Well, next we're going to focus our radio telescope to see whether we can eavesdrop on their I Love Lucy. Maybe they too have, Leave It to Beaver and TV shows like that. So we're going to focus our radio efforts now on this star to see whether there's any regular radio emissions from that planet.
Oh, it's so exciting. Michio, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, my pleasure.
The big question of, do you think there's intelligent life elsewhere out there? Do you think there is? And if there is, do you think it's visited us before?
Well, the big question is there intelligent life on the Earth? And I think not, by looking at the presidential debates.
However, we have to look at the fact that just this week, NASA released the fact that 1,200 planets were discovered by the Kepler satellite just this past week.
We always learned in school that there were 9 planets if you wanted to include Pluto.
Yes, if you did or if you didn't want to. But with all the newfangled telescopes out there and in space, the discoveries seem to keep coming. So Linda Schmidt tells us about NASA's biggest haul yet.
NASA's Kepler Space Telescope has made a groundbreaking discovery: 1,284 new planets. This NASA animation shows that it is the single largest collection of planets that have ever been found.
I think it's really exciting to find that when you look up in the stars, at the stars at night, many of those stars have planets just like our solar system. And now we know that for sure.
And so we now know that perhaps there are 1 billion Earth-like planets in our backyard, the Milky Way galaxy. Go out tonight and have an existential shock, looking at the night sky, realizing that there are probably 1 billion planets that are Earth-like.
I think I only had to memorize 8 of them in school. I think I got off easy.
And to think that we're the only game in town, I think, is kind of presumptuous.
But that question, though, the idea that there is intelligent life and it's been here, do you think we've been visited by extraterrestrial intelligent life?
First of all, I think they're out there, okay?
To kind of catapult the propaganda.
Whenever a mainstream scientist says anything about anything, there are millions upon millions of people willing to form their belief system around the statements of that scientist. So here we are in 2016, and when you look at any online poll as to whether aliens exist or not, the belief in aliens always wins by more than half. So we have passed the tipping point for critical mass.
But when you start to understand who these aliens really are and where they really come from, then you start to understand exactly the bigger agenda and how this relates to the fake moon landings and how this relates to the bigger agenda of the New World Order and the one world government to come. Because now we will talk about why the moon landings was a hoax and why they spent all this billions of dollars and all this time to lie and deceive the world. Because right after the Roswell incident, that is when the so-called aliens, they teamed up with your government. And they teamed up with the Freemasons and the Illuminati in order to start their fraudulent space program known as NASA. And ever since 1958, since this space program has been started, they've given you the illusion of a space race and they're rushing against Russia to land a man on the moon and all this other propaganda, even though we've just proven it is impossible to go to the moon. It is impossible to put man on the moon because they staged and hoaxed the same thing. And even NASA tells you the same thing too, but it's also no surprise that you've been seeing movies in the mainstream media such as Alien and E.T., the extraterrestrials, along with different TV shows and movies and books that all point to the alien propaganda. And the reason that there's such a push for this propaganda is because they want you to believe in aliens and they want you to believe that there's actual space and they want you to believe that they actually put a man on the moon, because then you'll believe and accept the alien deception to come. Because here's the movie poster that's showing you alien, but I see the word lie in alien because there's a bigger lie indeed. And the bigger agenda is going to be on Project Bluebeam. Now, I've done a video on Project Bluebeam, and the reason this is so important is because the elite are literally telling you what's about to come. And the reason you're seeing all of these movies getting you ready and mentally conditioning you for aliens and comets and things like that, even though it's all going to be staged ahead of time, is because it's getting you ready for holographic imaging and projection screenings. And I hope you see it with both your eyes open, but they need you to believe that there are aliens that are really coming from outer space and that there are other planets and that man can go to the moon and that it's possible to put a man on the moon. They need you to believe these things, and they need you to condition you to believe such things and such lies, so that when the big deception happens, your mind will already be conditioned and ready for the big deception. Because what's going to happen soon enough is your president and your pope and all of your elite, they're going to come onto the screen screen soon enough, and they're going to tell you, oh my goodness, we made contact with aliens. Oh my gosh, we made contact with aliens in outer space, and they're coming to Earth, and they're going to attack everybody soon. We need to merge together as a new world order in order to fight off this threat, and we need to merge with space-based nuclear weapons in order to fight off this threat. When that happens, that's going to be the basis for them merging into their new world order almost immediately and bringing all these governments together to fight off such a threat. And even your presidents have talked about this in their news statements and press statements, including ones such as Nixon and the Bush administration. They've all talked about this, and they've all have even said, including the Reagan administration, that this is how they're going to plan to merge as their new world order. Because yes, your government has been working with these so-called aliens for well over 70 years, and the biggest top secret and the biggest classified secret that the CIA and the FBI do not want you to know is that these aliens are not aliens from some other planets. First of all, they've already been here on Earth for a long time, and they're not really aliens from other planets. They are the demons, they are the fallen angels, and they're posing themselves as aliens to try to fool and deceive the entire world. But Hollywood, or should I say Hellywood, is already even telling you what's to come, even with the movie that just came out last week entitled Arrival, and it says, why are they here? Who is arriving? And there are even ancient hieroglyphics that even show and prove that UFOs were seen thousands of years ago and were spotted thousands of years ago, but have since been hidden until now. And while your government wants to continue to make you believe that all of this is a conspiracy theory, and oh, it's just conspiracy theories, just because it's mainstream does not make it the truth.